There are people who don't shatter loudly, they fracture quietly. No screaming, no scenes, no desperate reaching for help, just silent internal collapse, happening behind a steady gaze, a casual fine, a practiced half smile. They continue working, talking, laughing at the right moments. They carry on, functioning like a well-oiled machine, while something essential inside them is slowly turning to dust. To understand them, you can't listen to what they say. You have to hear what they avoid saying. You have to notice the pause before they answer, the tired softness in their voice, the way they shrug instead of confessing how much it hurts. You have to watch their silence, because their silence is louder than any breakdown could ever be. These people don't collapse once, they break in layers. A little today, a little more tomorrow. Pieces falling quietly where nobody looks, and the world rarely notices, not because it's cruel, but because these people learned long ago to crumble invisibly. They learn to hold everything together on the surface, while the foundation beneath them slowly caves in. They live like actors whose role is strong one, stable one, always okay one, and they know their lines by heart. They weren't born this way. They were shaped by childhoods where crying was weakness, by families where softness was embarrassing, by relationships where vulnerability became a weapon used against them, by moments when they reached out and the world didn't reach back. And so they made a decision. If breaking hurts, break quietly. If nobody comes, don't ask. If love is conditional, learn to live without it. They convinced themselves the safest way to survive was to disappear emotionally, to bleed internally where no one could see the stain. But here's the truth psychology rarely says out loud. People who break silently aren't strong, they are exhausted. They're tired of holding themselves together because no one else ever learned how to hold them. They're tired of being the one who listens to everyone while collapsing behind closed doors. Tired of being the reliable one, the calm one, the understanding one, roles they never auditioned for, but somehow were cast into permanently. And the scariest part, you could stand right beside them and never know. They don't cry for help. They rehearse composure. They don't seek comfort. They say it's nothing. They don't show the cracks. They hide them beneath kindness and competence. They break beautifully, quietly, invisibly. And the world applauds their strength without ever noticing the grave beneath it. People who break silently often carry a strange kind of elegance in their suffering. They are gentle with others, patient with pain, composed in chaos. And yet, beneath that serene exterior is a storm powerful enough to tear a life apart. They don't lash out. They don't explode. They implode. Psychologists describe this internal collapse as suppressed emotional processing. Pain that can't exit the mind because the person has no safe place to put it. So instead of expressing it, they bury it. They compress it. They stack sadness like bricks, higher and higher, quietly building a wall inside themselves. You might think the wall protects them, but it only traps them. Behind it, unspoken grief grows like roots, winding through memory, strangling joy, stealing the ability to feel fully. They smile at a joke but don't really laugh. They're surrounded by people yet feel fundamentally alone. They function, yes, but they don't live. Their silence is not absence, it's containment. They've mastered emotional minimalism. Never too excited, never too sad. Just balanced, neutral, manageable. Because extremes are dangerous. Extremes reveal what they feel, and revealing is risk. Many of them learned young that tears made adults angry, or uncomfortable, or distant. They learned that vulnerability invited dismissal, ridicule, or worse, abandonment. So they adapted. They built themselves like fortresses, brick by brick, until no one could see how fragile the center truly was. They walk through life like mirrors, reflecting others, hiding themselves. They are the friend everyone confides in, but who confides in no one. The partner who gives endlessly, while receiving almost nothing. The child who never caused problems, because being invisible was safer than being seen. And here is the heartbreaking paradox. These people crave understanding more than anything. Yet they never allow anyone close enough to provide it. When someone asks how they are, they say good. When someone notices they're quiet, they say just tired. When someone tries to love them, they pull away. Not because they don't want love, but because love means exposure, and exposure means risk. They carry loneliness the way some carry jewelry, always on them, hidden beneath clothing, cold against the skin. The world calls them strong, resilient, unbreakable. But the truth is simpler. No one has ever seen them fall. And if no one sees you break, it's easy for everyone to believe you're unbroken. There is something hauntingly beautiful about those who suffer silently, not because pain is poetic, but because they carry it with such quiet dignity. They don't scream into pillows. They don't throw things. They don't fall apart where someone could see them. Instead, they break in small, invisible ways. A smile held a second too long. A laugh with no light in it. "I'm fine," said with mechanical precision. A deep breath before answering a simple question. They shatter like soundless glass. No explosion. No debris. Only the faintest cracks spreading beneath the surface. No one notices. How could they? Silence has no echo. People who break inside learn to function on autopilot. They wake up, get dressed, work, socialize, appear normal. They know exactly how to pass every emotional checkpoint without triggering concern. They are experts in performance, and their life is the stage they never asked to stand on. Their greatest fear isn't pain. It's being too much for others to handle. They think, if I open up, or scare them away, if I ask for help, it'll be a burden. If I cry, they'll think I'm weak. So they swallow their sadness like medicine, hoping it heals rather than poisons. They become their own therapist, their own comfort, their own emergency exit. They whisper to themselves at night, "Just get through it," as if survival were a routine and not a quiet war. To love a person like this requires patience, more than most are willing to give. Because you won't see their pain unless you look closely. You won't hear their suffering unless you listen between their words. You won't feel their breaking unless you stand inside their silence. Ask them, "How are you?" and you'll get a polished answer. But ask them twice, gently, sincerely, and you might see the fracture in their eyes. Not everyone will see it. Not everyone wants to. It's easier to believe that the strong don't hurt than to face the truth that even the strongest bleed the deepest. These people have learned to hurt privately, not because they want to be alone, but because they stopped believing anyone would stay if they didn't pretend to be whole. Their resilience is misunderstood as emotional invincibility, but resilience is often just another word for exhaustion. They're tired, not of life, but of carrying it alone. Here's what most people never realize. Those who break silently don't avoid emotions. They feel too much. Their hearts are heavy not because they are empty, but because they are full of unspoken words, unanswered questions, uncried tears. They absorb everything. The tone of a voice, the shift in someone's eyes, the silence at the end of a text message. They notice what others miss, because their sensitivity is sharpened by years of holding pain like a secret. But they treat emotions like fragile glass, precious, but dangerous to expose. They carry a universe inside them that nobody ever sees. They bleed internally so the world doesn't have to watch. And maybe that's the most tragic thing about them. They protect others from their pain, even when no one protects them from theirs. Some people call them distant. Some call them mysterious. But in truth, they're just guarded. They've seen what happens when they open up, and the memory still burns. They once believed that honesty would bring comfort. Instead, it brought vulnerability, misunderstanding, disappointment. So they locked the door, not out of coldness, but out of survival. Because every time they let someone close, they lost a piece of themselves they never got back. So now they give only what they can afford to lose. Small smiles, soft gestures, a hint of warmth here and there, enough to seem fine, but never enough to expose the storm beneath. And here's the paradox psychology struggles to hold. They crave connection, yet fear it more than anything. They want someone to stay, yet they're convinced no one will. They want to be understood, yet they hide everything that needs understanding. They hope someone will notice, will look deeper, will ask again, will listen without leaving. But they also believe that no one will. So they break quietly, silently, elegantly, and the world keeps calling it strength. The breaking of these people is not an ending. It is a transformation no one witnesses. Because the truth is, no one shatters forever. Even silent fractures eventually lead somewhere, deeper, darker, or finally freeing. One day, slowly or suddenly, they realize something that changes everything. No one saves the person who never speaks. No one hears the pain that makes no sound. No one carries weight they don't know exists. And that is the moment their story pivots. Not with a scream, not with a breakdown, but with a barely audible exhale. The softest surrender to the truth. They cannot suffer unseen forever. Some begin to break openly, not dramatically, but honestly. A confession slips out in a whisper. A tear falls in front of someone. A voice trembles instead of staying smooth. Not weakness, but courage wearing vulnerability like skin. And slowly, the world that once overlooked them begins to see. Not everyone, not immediately, but someone, the right one, eventually does. Someone patient enough to notice the quiet. Someone gentle enough to hold what shakes. Someone strong enough to say, "I'm here." You don't have to hold it alone anymore. And for the first time in years, their pain is not a private war. It is shared, softened, understood. Because humans do not heal from being unseen. They heal from being witnessed. But not every silent breaker finds someone. And the ones who don't learn a different kind of strength. The strength of rebuilding themselves quietly. Without applause, without caretakers, without rescue. They learn to grow around their fractures, like trees bending around old wounds, like rivers carving new paths through stone. Their scars do not ruin them, they reshape them. They become deeper, softer, wiser. They learn empathy from pain, patience from loneliness, compassion from survival. They become the ones who notice the quiet in others, because they know how loud silence can be. And this is the psychology never spoken in textbooks. People who break inside and show nothing are not empty. They are overflowing. Not weak, but weathered. Not cold, but cautious. They are the kind of souls the world rarely understands until it breaks the same way. And when it does, their silence suddenly makes sense. So if you are one of them, if you break quietly, hurt privately, smile while something inside you fractures, hear this gently. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be held. You deserve softness you don't have to earn. And you do not have to shatter silently forever. One day, your voice will tremble, and you will speak. One day, your walls will soften, and you will let someone in. And when that day comes, your breaking will not make you weaker. It will make you real. Because the strongest people are not the ones who never fall, but the ones who learn to rise. Without sound,